Hello, hello, my friends, my peeps. I'm doing this pretty early in the morning, because I woke up with some thoughts in my head about it, and that usually indicates let's do it. So here I am, kind of. Again, sometimes it helps to be still with one foot, sort of in the dreamscape. Couple of kind of housekeeping things. Let's see if I can get out of the dreamscape for a second to just address a couple of things. I think it was in the last video I talked about specifically divine masculine, divine feminine. And, you'll hear that a lot in tarot readings, as opposed to just identifying somebody as showing up in their everyday life in one or the other energy, active or receptive. And it's never an either or. If we don't have the balance of the two, we're askew. But I think what the emphasis on divine feminine, divine masculine, is that it's not gender. It never is. But this sort of doubles down on the idea of the energy, that sort of major arcana energy. And and my mind just went completely blank, so I think it's time to stop. Housekeeping. One of the comments, I think on the video before last, I lose track, but this was Alicia, shout out to you, and she was wondering about my history, how I came to tarot, what kind of facilitated a spiritual awakening, what kind of brought me to tarot, facing patterns in my life. And the truth is, yes, all of the above, as well. Interestingly enough, I mean, I've been doing tarot for 50 years. There've been all these anniversary of the summer of Woodstock things going on, and that happened to be the year that summer, as the whole momentum for Woodstock was unfolding, and my parents had said, you can't go. I was 13. They're like, no way, Jose. But that's the summer I watched somebody else throw the cards, and, it was so the language for me that when I fell asleep that night, I was picturing the various postures of cards, particularly Hangman, which is in such an upside down with the leg across posture of the chrysalis, of waiting, of not taking action in order to, in that quiet time, receiving an epiphany, in that stillness. So it kind of got into my psyche, booma, and, here I am 50 years later. What really accelerated it for me, oddly enough, was COVID, because I live alone my daughter came and stayed with me for a long time during COVID, but eventually had to scoot back to her own life and her own family. But before she came and afterward, when I was really in isolation, I'd live alone. It was, the time of like, mask up, don't open the door, particularly to anybody who's unmasked or unvaccinated. So, I've lived alone for years, and also for huge chunks of my life in one of two very long-term, very real and deep soulmate connections that both had transformed into something different, no less powerful, but different. And so somehow, in the absence of that soulmate partnership, and physically by myself, the connection in that quiet, in that hangman position, really got louder. That, you know, there wasn't this sort of distraction of everyday exchange, not even at the grocery store. There was a while where I was all about somebody else would pick up the groceries or I would put in the order, and I missed that. I really did. But what came up was this internal life and the messages from Spirit. And I was doing tarot every day, sort of to stay sane, as an anchor, as a grounding. What's going on with me? Checking in with myself via this route that sort of bypassed my busy mind and my anxiety and so forth. It was really grounding. And so here we are. And I'm back in connection with the world, but I really need this. When I was doing the cards every day just for myself, it became really clear that there was an overflow, that I really had something more going on here. You know, I needed to let off the pressure and let it out into the world. I'd thought about doing a YouTube channel. I was already reading for friends and family. And being compensated for it, sometimes just energetically, sometimes in the energy of, cross my palms with silver. Took a long time for me to work up the courage maybe to do that. And a friend of mine who wanted a reading just paid me for it. Left a bill, sort of hid it, or put it in the envelope, said read later. I can't quite remember, but that gave me the courage. I mean, I was so grateful to her. You know, she knows who she is, dear Candy, that she kind of, removed that block somehow by believing in me. She gets readings from other people all the time, and psychic readings from mediums who, and she just said totally worth it at the end of the reading. And I believed in it because she believed in me. And sometimes that's the incentive we need, along with this own internal pressure of like, it's not just for you. Are you kidding? Let it out into the world. Take the risk. So I did long before I felt ready to do it, because I kind of realized I'm in some ways a shy person. And I, to get out there and say, I'm a tarot reader, I'm tapped in to something on the behalf of other people as well as myself. Share the connection. So that's what I'm doing. And I had another longtime viewer, who yesterday I did a traditional Rider-Waite deck. I'm doing a kind of, you donate, I'll give you any amount, I'll give you a deck that I use, because I'm trying to lighten that load a little bit. I have so many decks. This was a duplicate Rider-Waite. I have about 4 or 5 of them, and so I'm letting some of them go, and this seemed like a good way to do it. And Helium Hearts, a long time loyal, lovely, good commenting viewer, said yes. I think it was Helium Hearts. Yeah, I'd like the deck, so I'm going to send this to Helium Hearts. And I wanted to make sure this was the deck she wanted, because a lot are going to be coming up in the next few days. A different deck, at least for a while, till I'm feel like I'm supposed to switch over to something else. There was a suggestion to me this was how to do it. So today I'm using this deck, which is called the Toth deck. If I'm pronouncing it right, could be Toth, I don't know. It's a very old deck. It's like Unto Rider-Waite, a different imagery, and there's one, I think it's Justice, and there's a switch between 2 cards, and I think it's Strength and some other card are flip-flopped in terms of their major arcana number. Don't know what that means. There's a slight nuance, some kind of change. I've only used this deck a few times, and it wasn't that it didn't resonate. I guess it was that flip-flop that confused me. That major arcana inversion of 2 cards, and I just thought, I don't get that. So a lot of these decks had something I was challenged by and wasn't ready to try to work out. The jumping off point was, I learned that the Dalai Lama, the Tibetan in some ways top of the hierarchy guy, who's the last Dalai Lama according to tradition, escaped Tibet when the Chinese invaded their country and decimated, or tried to, the whole system of Tibetan Buddhism. The Chinese government being a secular entity that found religious or more spiritual power very threatening. So they killed people and blew up temples, and so that eventually, not wanting to leave, but under the advice of advisors, the Dalai Lama left the country secretly. Was smuggled out over hill and dale, very long journey through the Himalayas to India. God, and I hope it's the Himalayas. My sense of geography is piss poor, it really is. It has something to do with my spatial brain. It's a little damaged. Or, just took a hit that probably, like COVID, opened up other receptors in the brain or something. So the Dalai Lama, when he eventually started teaching in the West, was amazed that, just didn't get it, that there was this element among Westerners on the spiritual path of great unworthiness, of just having terrible self-talk, self-doubt, guilt, perhaps branching from the idea of sin versus karma. He just didn't understand it, and he'd go to people and say, what is this? How do I teach a people who in their very spiritual quest, feel like they're making up for some disconnect or loss or unworthiness. You know, and that's a good question, because I think it is very prevalent. I certainly feel it in myself. The older I get, the more it sort of dissipates, because I'm running out of time to prove anything to anybody. So there's this kind of that's just falling away. So much kind of things get refined down, it seems to me, as you get older, and care less and less about how you're perceived. Ready to step into whatever it is you're calling tarot, healing, teaching, writing, being an actress, being an actor, divine, masculine, feminine. The callings that you may have been afraid or feeling blocked in some way to do it, and there's a push to do it now. Not just because of age, but that, I think, plays into it a little bit for me, because I've been doing it so long, and most people don't know until fairly recently, beyond those closest to me, that this is a thing. First card out. Oops, let's see. Sorry, I need to put on the glasses. I can't see anymore. Oh, it's Tower. It's Tower. An interesting image here with the kind of what I often call the over eye. The word among Rastafari, the Jamaican spiritual path for God. In traditional Rider-Waite, it's the lightning bolt, taking down the tower, the structure, what's become too small, too tight. And in this, it's a bit of a scarier image in some ways, because there's this kind of open mouth out of which all the flames are coming. So it's sort of a devil energy, the vortex, perhaps, of the tower coming down, but overseen by the guiding light. It's interesting because I had a sort of image of this in my mind. I was trying to figure out the banner image, the image across the top of my homepage, and I didn't know what it was supposed to be. And then I got this, came into my head, and I thought it was the Eye of Horus, which is the Egyptian equivalent. And as I remember, Thoth draws pretty heavily on that deep connection of the whole Egyptian system of thought, their pantheon of gods, that for that system, I think, as always, represents the basic energies of the major arcana, the psychic energies. And here we do have a sphinx-like figure. And I'll have to read up more on Thoth. It's one of those, deified energies. Tower, what's coming down, what's too tight? And given what we were talking about, it might well be that self-loathing. We have to move beyond that first. Which is a process. We're always shedding that idea of unworthiness. Boy, I'm going to have to keep the specs on. I can't see the thing when I've got, I've got a prescription glasses coming in. Nine of Swords, which in this deck is called Cruelty. Again, that's sort of self-loathing, because this is being pierced through and through by one's own anxiety, doubt, questions, doubt, sword energy. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, whatever questions plague us and keep us up, stuck in our heads, our brain is not our friend in this kind of energy. It's almost like Ten of Swords in Rider-Waite, the person who's on the ground, face down, with 10 swords in their back. But this is doing it to yourself. And not being able to control it. Runaway brain. I hear the birds. Okay, one left on the table. Disappointment. 5 of Cups. This is all what's being taken down by Tower. The mental overthinking and self-doubt. The cruelty of the brain toward the soul sometimes, when it's not on, when it's in that inexplicable energy that Dalai Lama discovered of self-recrimination, self-doubt, lack of trust, and so forth. And this is in Cups energy and feelings energy, the loss, the lack. I didn't get what I was connected to. And I'm in a period of mourning about it. And the universe is saying, we'll help you let that go. Kaboom. Can't live in that, you've outgrown it. You've outgrown this. This up in the head, empty-hearted anxiety and feeling of loss. The connection's broken somehow. And the truth is, like for me during COVID, when this constricted thing explodes, because it wasn't real, it was no longer fulfilling, it was too small. This mindset, sword energy, this feeling, Cups energy of it's gone. Cup spilled, out of connection, and yet in floods, at least, and I think for all of us, when something's taken away, nature abhors a vacuum, right? In comes something else, and out goes something else. There's that out with the bad air, in with the good air. Out with the bad air. Air energy. When the brain, in this case, tortures us, cruelty. Sorry, I'm really dehydrated. I woke up and just threw the cards. I haven't had breakfast. Self-care. Self-care, Liza, self-care. Loud swallowing, I know. Looks like my voice. Oh, and by the way, I've ordered, thanks to very generous donations, the mic, the clicker, some of the, the tools of the technology that I didn't have that might help. And blessings upon you. I really appreciate the donations that have been coming in. And if you want the deck for a pittance, for a tip, for an anything, I'm just trying to open that channel because the truth is I need it. Whoa. Adjustment. 8 of, I really apologize. You know, I'm a little bit blind. Oh, it's the card of Libra. This is the switcheroo. It's the 8, which ordinarily is strength, and in this deck is justice. The recalibration in major arcana, in sword energy. You know, this is a recalibration in fairness, a decision to come out of this energy. And in fact, you know, you may have been stuck here night after night after night, day after day after day, thought after thought after thought. Down it comes, that constricting structure. And what comes in to replace this clarity, this fairness. This is not fair. You know, and now I've got the twitch in my eye. I mean, I'm really being spanked for not hydrating, for dumb. But this is be fair to yourself. In that same sword energy, major arcana, clarity, and the clarity is about relationship. The two sides of the scale. That equilibrium. About how this relates to that. And I think it's how sort of, you know, this punishing questioning relates to this feeling of loss in connection. You know, somehow as this increases, this increases. You know, the two get into this head-heart interplay that is imbalanced and cruel and leaves you in an energy of disappointment. Stuck there. Well, that's getting adjusted big time. Perhaps in Libra time, upcoming October, we're on the cusp of, and we may be in it already. I just ought to check this out, and I haven't yet. Moving from Leo into Virgo, and then from Virgo into Libra. There's a progression around the wheel of astrology of that. Yeah, shut up. Okay. Let's look at the adjustment of Cups disconnect and Sword kind of hijacking of the brain. And we got a few. Next time you see me, I'll be in proper specs. Well, this is the flip side in Thoth. It's 8, which is usually strength. And here is prudence with the scales. Yeah, I'm confused. I flip-flopped it with something else. This is strength, which is strength in Major Arcana 8. So, yeah. Pardon my, for all my schmarts, I'm behind the 8 ball a lot of the time. Tree of life. That's what I see here. Abundance, having synthesized tower energy, what's too small, with the ability to recalibrate. This is also a card of Leo, where we are now, or just moving out of. even, if not today, this week. A fire sign. Fire energy. The strength of self-determination, of self-revelation in the world. Leo energy of I'm here. You know, I'm allowed to take up space. I'm allowed to shine my light. The constraining thing that maybe has kept me from doing that, me, you, us, has been exploded because that was too small. This up in the head energy, too small. This constricted heart energy in that feeling of disappointment, too small. Major Arcana, we're recalibrating that. We have the courage to step into the light. This is a good deck. Whoever wants it, you know. I'm really liking it now. I may have to go back and get it again at some point because it's sweet. It's either Prince or Princess of Swords. Princess of Swords. I just want to mention this is the result of cataract surgery, which I highly recommend. It was like Dorothy stepping out of the house in The Wizard of Oz, you know, from black and white to just, because it's washing the windows. It's giving you back the eyes you had before the cloudiness. Baby's eyes. Looking through the world through baby's eyes. And I can't remember his name. Great comedian. I'll try to put it in description box. So this is Princess of Swords, Page of Swords. This is digging for more information, looking into something, being a student in sword energy. How do I, by adding this sword to this, you get 10 of Swords. How do I end this cycle of overthinking to make room for the new way of thinking? This Libra clarity, Major Arcana clarity, you know, because that 9 of Swords BS that sometimes we feed ourselves, our brain feeds us on the basis of some wounds we've received. Not anymore. Universe steps in and says, you know, beginner's mind, what's the new way, the fresh way, the brave way, strength, now that the tower has come down? Strength is a synthesis of head and heart. We're looking into it. We're observing something with baby's eyes, the sun. I mean, come on, guys. Another card of Leo, of revelation, of being able to see it clearly. Major Arcana card of warmth, of happiness, of innocence. In Rider Waite, it shows the baby on the horse, the baby's eyes. I'll get that name before I'll certainly put it in the description box. I can't call. He's brilliant. He's really worth watching. At least to me, it's comedy, but it's also preach it energy. Remove the mote from your own eye first. That's a biblical quote. Get the mote out of your own eye. the obstructing thing. And with the surgery, I lost that's why I have to wear the specs, weirdly enough. Anyway, that's another story, but the new clarity meant in 3D, I had to go to the optometrist. I can see color, but I lose up close. So there's always kind of a trade-off. Is it worth it to let that bright light shine on you? Once the constraining thing that clouded the vision, that put the brain not only not in service of sword energy, enlightenment, communication, and so forth, but did you such a disservice. It might be somebody you're dealing with. There's always that when you're watching for a relationship, the two, you may be cross-watching, which always teaches us about ourselves too. You may be dealing with an air sign, perhaps a Libra, or Leo, doubling down. Tower, I see as Scorpio because it's the definitive end of something. Whatever happens after Tower, it's not going back into that old place. You just couldn't fit yourself in. It's like Alice in Wonderland, where in Wonderland she drinks from the bottle, the potion, and grows to the point where she busts out of the house. Her head comes out the chimney, her arms come out the windows. Her own growth explodes the structure. That's Tower. Bottom of the deck, peaked, so have to take it. It is strength. And it is 9 of Wands. On, off, but it's important. It's a different deck, so yeah, 9 of Wands. In fire energy. The strength, I like this deck, I have to say, because it gives you a little hint at the bottom. 9 of Wands is often interpreted as communication, as the strength to open up in this relationship, because you have clarity now, you've recalibrated the lines of communication, heartfelt, fire energy. This kind of fire energy doesn't dissemble. It's not a conversation where you're trying to couch things. It's not bad sword energy based on insecurity. It's the flow, heart to heart. Fire energy often means, the warmth, the revelation. We don't hide. And it's warm, and it's back and forth. And it's a minor arcana reflection of this and this. And I'm just looking to see if prudence. I'm re-questioning whether this is strength card. This is why I let go of this deck, because I'm not as versant in it as I am in Rider-Waite, and it creates problems. But the major arcana are really splendid. Adjustment, Libra, Tower, Sun. Libra, Tower, Sun, we can be assured of, and it's great sword energy. amazing heart courage to come into the light, to come into the warmth. And I don't know why that would take courage, but it does. And it's something we learn more about doing all the time because our brain is catching up. You know, we've been in this crazy Nine of Swords energy for quite some time, and now we're busting out. We've been busted out of that jail. It's like spirit has and all the bars go back at once. And where do we go then? I think it's Moon. Yes, ma'am. Moon card. It's the Egyptian pantheon because here you have the twins. There are two of them. Moon card is a card of Cancer, a card of connection. Certainly when you recalibrate this sense of disappointment, Moon is tapping into, and we have Moon Sun, divine masculine, the active principle of shining it out, divine feminine, the receptive principle of non-action in a way. You know, Moon energy is about taking a deep dive into the psyche, into the wash of feelings. As the Moon reflects, is receiving sunlight and shining it into the darkness. This can be a card of fear sometimes, because taking this, you know, we talked a lot about courage. Taking this deep water dive, and I'm getting a sense of the difference in pressure. You know, you can get the bends if you go down and up too fast. It could be Moon energy because we have a supermoon coming up the end of this month. In Rider-Waite, there are the two wolves, or the wolf and the domestic dog, howling at the moon. Here we have these two. Again, balance in that Libra card, echoed here in Moon. It could be you. I mean, remember I said the twin? Same cards that prompted me in that reading of a couple of days ago to say divine masculine, divine feminine. You're both in balance. You both are rocking these energies internally. And that sort of calls in the twin, which only means the one who balances you, because you've balanced yourself. You know, you're able to come into this relationship dynamic of equal give and take, of equal clarity about the relationship and everything else. It's not static. It's something that it's always kind of in flux. Major Arcana cards of Libra, Cancer, Leo. Heart, mind, drive. No pentacles here. unless this is possibly 8 of Pentacles, which is, it is because it's the Tree of Life. Sorry, I'm slow. It's all about growth and doing the work. And the work is beginning again, after this definitive ending, to have beginner's mind. How do I see the world? What's the lesson? I'm a student of this. In 3D, that Pentacles energy popping out. Only when I really looked at the cards and thought, what am I missing here? Pentacles, what you grow, the abundance you can grow. It is within your power to bring this into 3D. After Tower, power. It says, don't look. You guys, I thank you very much. And there was a massive quote that I was going to read you, and I didn't bring it to the table, so you're spared the massive quote. Yeah, if you're interested in this deck, which I think rocks, it's a take it, and that's good for me to be knocked a bit off the interpretations I think I know. I'm in this place now, beginner's mind. We all are. Every day that we wake up out of the nightmare, the cruelty, the questioning, the self-doubt. Every morning is the revelation of what's going on. Marvin Gaye, what's going on? Really? Okay. On that 8 of Pentacles, I think it's not Lovers. Looks like Lovers. It's luxury. It's 4 of Cups. In this depiction, 4 of Cups can be and now I can't remember traditional Rider-Waite, which is sort of a good sign. To me, this looks like when I was a kid, my parents, once in a while, like on Christmas Day, my dad would construct, I think it's called a champagne tower. You stack up the cups and you pour into the top one and you get this cascade effect. It's not a trickle down effect, it's a flow down effect. It's an overflow. And I'm reminded again of that sense I had of, I got to start reading because it's too constricting, Tower. There's an overflow here that I need to let out into the world, share. That's the work in 3D. What do you do with the overflow? Study on what makes you happy. Looking through the world through baby's eyes, this clean, clear, lit up perspective that allows for communication in fire energy based on deep feelings, the willingness to tap in Cancer energy, in feelings energy, and kind of Step up, sun energy. Reflect that sun back into the world. You know, because in truth, you are the fire, says Ram Dass. You are the fire, the light and the dark. The twins are in you, your yin-yang side, and it will be then reflected back into the world, reflected back into the world. Divine union. Wonderful deck. You know, stay in the flow. Let's stay in the flow. The heart flow. Moon flow. And then bring it forth. Don't hide your light under the bushel, under the basket. You can't anyway. Universe says now. Now is the time. Tower is now. You're busting out. See you next time. Oops, clicker.